Good morning. Good morning on this Sunday as we welcome the light as our days grow longer. We're so glad that you've joined us today. I'm Martha Sinkula, your service leader, and I welcome you to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist congregation. I really miss seeing all of you, and as we continue to meet through recorded services, we all are missing the beloved community of in-person services. It's so very important to make every effort to stay connected during this time. So please call and check in with someone just for a few minutes. It means a lot. Our speaker this week is Reverend Dennis Reynolds, and he will be available for an after-sermon Zoom discussion. It's every Sunday, and a check-in begins at 11:15 a.m. and conversation at 11:30. And if you want to participate in our after-service discussions and haven't yet used Zoom, just Google Zoom to download the free app and follow the easy prompts. And once you've done that and signed up for the Zoom account, it's free, click on the link in your email that Michael Wheeler sends out each week. And if you miss the after-service discussion, they are recorded. So just like our services, you can view them anytime on our YouTube channel. Services are generally uploaded on Saturday nights. And since you're using YouTube to view this service, please click on the red subscribe bar or link, and this will make it much easier to find us. In addition to services and discussions, we also have meditations and interviews. There's a lot to check out. If you're having trouble hearing our services on YouTube, click on the CC button found at the bottom of the YouTube screen next to the settings and full screen controls. Captions will appear, and so you can read along as you watch. We thank Michael Wheeler and Lucy Swangham for their work every week in producing these wonderful videos. Welcome.
We begin our service this morning with the lighting of the chalice. Love is eternal.
Whether we see it or it remains hidden, it never goes away.
It is there in the darkness. It is there in the daylight.
Always waiting, waiting to be rekindled.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
I invite you now into a time of meditation and contemplation. It's a movement meditation. It's a form we've done together before, but I want to change the emphasis just a little bit for today's special holiday, Valentine's Day. We're going to begin with hands open to receive whatever love may come to us. And then inhaling, bring it to your heart, and hold that love for just a moment. And then I'm going to ask you to do the greatest act of love, and that's the act of sometimes letting go. Opening hands to be ready to receive what comes again. So open, breathe in, hold, and let go. And just hold it for a bit as we breathe in and out, knowing that even as we're at a distance, we are breathing together in love. Thank you. Our reading this morning are spoken song lyrics from Neil Young. It's going to take a lot of love to change the way things are.
It's going to take a lot of love, or we won't get too far.
So if you look in my direction and we don't see eye to eye, my heart needs protection, and so do I.
It's going to take a lot of love to get us through the night.
It's going to take a lot of love to make things work out right.
So if you are out there waiting, I hope you show up soon, 'cause my head needs relating, not solitude.
It's going to take a lot of love to change the way things are. It's going to take a lot of love, or we won't get too far.
No. Reverend Dennis came to the ministry after a 30-year career as a preschool teacher and an administrator at the University of Oregon. He has since retired to Eugene after serving churches in Oregon, Washington State, and as a hospital chaplain. He has been an activist locally and globally. Reverend Dennis believes that the most powerful sermons are those often written with a religious text in one hand and a current news source in the other. He enjoys lifelong learning and the practice of crafting sermons. Our congregation enjoys his wisdom and wit and his ability to show and share his authentic self with us. Dennis?
In these times, we certainly need a lot of love. Lots and lots of love. Love, love, love. Love, we sing of it. Poets wax, poetic about it. Especially today on Valentine's Day, we seek just the right gift as a token of our love. The florists and chocolatiers certainly count on today as a major source of income. We nurture love in diverse forms. We commit to it. We long for it. We seek it, and when we find it, we just bask in its glow. Yet there are times when we painfully pine for it. And in its absence, we can feel some of the deepest anguish and pain that human emotions can engender, especially when a love we previously embraced has gone away. In our current challenging times, we certainly could use more love. More love, more broadly shared love would certainly help things turn out right in both our personal lives and our culture. Love, love, love. Love expresses itself in a wide range of forms. The Greeks gave us a list of 7 separate words for what English tries to convey with that one word, love. The writer Roman Krasanic compared the Greeks' diverse descriptions of all the delightful variations of love to the way our Northwest culture describes coffee. I like that notion. We'd have French press love, perhaps a love latte or an espresso shot of love, and maybe even different sizes of love or flavors, mocha love. And we could have sizes, short, tall, grande, or even venti love. And is there such a thing as iced love? Yes, the Greeks took the description of love as seriously as we take our coffee, acknowledging that love comes in forms, shapes, flavors, and sizes. They offered the following words of love. Agape is the kind of deep familial love or parental love. It's also used by some Christians to describe the love of a father, God, for his children. Agape might also be an appropriate label for maternal love one might receive from the goddess. It's deep and it's unconditional. Storge is another word sometimes used by the Greeks for familiar or parental love. Storge is an expression of love as natural empathy and affection, like what we feel for our kids or perhaps for our parents. It was also used by the Greeks to express acceptance of a putting up with behavior. Kind of like that old adage of family, the people who have to love you no matter what. Philia is what the ancients called love between equals. The word is sometimes expressed in the masculine, like when we call Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. Philia, though, is not really gendered, but rather describes an affectionate regard and a deep, loving relationship. Philios, a form of the word, is used to describe a general feeling of affection that grows within a family, as well as between friends and between lovers. And then there's ludus, or playful love, a kind of puppy love. It describes the affection between children or what may be the beginning of something deeper for adults. It's a flirting, teasing kind of love that needs not be anything more than just playful affection. Ludus, though, is a kind of love that sometimes, unfortunately, gets misinterpreted as something altogether different. The Greeks also spoke of pragma, a love that grows over time. It's a kind of love that develops in long-term relationships, intimate relationships, and other kinds of loving connection too. This kind of love might also be labeled pragmatic. Pragma describes a love, whether within a couple or a community, that recognizes the need for compromise, patience, and tolerance. We behave in a patient, tolerant way when we love with pragma, wisely, recognizing the affection we share. The ancients also identified a love called philautia. I always have to remember that one, or self-love. Now, the clever Greeks recognized that such love had both healthy and unhealthy manifestations. If such love leads one to become self-obsessed and focused on only one's own successes, it becomes narcissism. Healthy self-love, though, can widen and deepen our capacity to give and to receive love. This is because when we nurture and grow a healthy love of self, we have the capacity to engage lovingly with others from a place of wholeness. We want to be with others rather than need to be with them. When we have a healthy sense of philautia, We need not seek love from a place of incompleteness. We do not look to others to complete us or to shelter us from pain and discomfort. Now, eros, that's the kind of love that gets the most press. It's passionate and used to describe sexual love. The name comes from the Greek god or Eros, who was the god of fertility. It's a fiery love with an element of danger. It's the love the tabloids love to write about. And in some part of our being, it's the love most of us long hopelessly to fall into the midst of. Eros love is seen sometimes as dangerous. It can take hold of you and possess you, which is why some moralists, including our Christian forebears like the Puritans, felt it needed to be resisted and suppressed, and if not purged or banned, at least needed to be repressed. For the record, the Greeks did not have such a negative view of Eros. Lovers and philosophers were invited to use the fire inspired by Eros to build and to seek deeper connections, not only with one another, but a deep, passionate love for life. Eros inspires poetry and music and more. Named for the god of fertility, it was and is expressed through much more than procreation. Rather, it's attached to a vast array of forms of passionate creativity. All of this recognizes there's a whole lot of love afoot in the world, and that love comes in a wide range of forms. Forms that we confusingly try to cover with that one sweet and all too often inadequate English word, love. Now, all of these varied forms and expressions of love have a commonality. It's that they are often not fully rational. And thus, they are infused with a bit of mystery. Love is emotional. And because it's emotional, it's sometimes not fully rational. We spend our lives both trying to solve and sometimes simply enjoying love's mysteries. I'd like to share a short poem by a wise writer, Piet Hein. It's entitled, What Love is Like. It describes that mystery. Love is like a pineapple, sweet and indefinable. Love is sweet and often definable, even when we use 7 different words to describe it. This morning I want to look a little closer, not at one of the forms described by the Greeks, but a form that first appeared in Western culture in ballads and stories of medieval times. It's romantic love. In our culture, romance sometimes overshadows all the other forms of love. I offer the following readings from the Jungian analyst and writer Robert A. Johnson's book, We, Understanding the Psychology of Romantic Love. He writes, romantic love is the single greatest energy system in the Western psyche. In our culture, it has supplanted religion as the arena in which men and women seek meaning, transcendence, wholeness, and ecstasy. As a mass phenomenon, romantic love is peculiar to the West. We are so accustomed to living with the beliefs and assumptions of romantic love that we think it's the only form of love on which marriage or love relationships can be based. We think it is the only true love. He continues, but there is much we can learn from the East about this. In Eastern culture, especially in India, we find married couples love each other with great warmth. But their love is not romantic love as we know it. They don't impose the same ideals on their relationships, nor do they impose such impossible demands on expectations of each other as we do. Romantic love, Johnson reports, has existed throughout history in many cultures. We find it in the literature of ancient Greece, the Roman Empire, ancient Persia, and feudal Japan. But our modern Western society is the only culture that has experienced romantic love as a mass phenomenon. We're the only society that makes romance the basis of our marriages and love relationships and promotes that cultural idea of true love. Now, Johnson tells us that the idea of true love came into Western society in the Middle Ages. It's modeled from those stories of the brave knight and the fair lady, who is a symbol of all beauty and perfection, that ideal that moves him to be noble. And in time, we've mixed that courtly love into our sexual relations and marriages. But we hold to that notion that true belief is the ecstatic adoration of a man or a woman who carries for us the image of perfection. Perfection. Now, we've fortunately moved beyond the paternalistic, male-centric, heteronormative, dualistic love that Johnson describes as our history, yet much of the mythos remains. Johnson tells us romantic love is one of the truly overwhelming psychological phenomena that have appeared in Western history. It has overwhelmed our collective psyche and permanently altered our view of the world. As a society, we have not yet learned to handle the tremendous power of romantic love. We turn it into tragedy and alienation more than into enduring human relationship. But I believe, he states, men and women, all people will understand the psychological dynamics behind romantic love and learn to handle them consciously. If they do so, they will find a new possibility of relationship, both to themselves and to others. Now, I've spent some time exploring Johnson's book. Therein, he asks and answers the question, so what is romantic love and how does it operate? Psychologically speaking, romantic love or falling in love has to do with an interior image of beauty, wholeness, and perfection being projected outward from one's inner being and falling upon another person. The person upon whom this interior image falls is lifted out of the everyday, ordinary world and sometimes becomes as if it were a god or goddess for us. You are ushered into a realm of beauty and wonder where the whole world lights up. Ordinary time loses its significance. Hours slip by in a flash in the presence of the beloved. You are exalted. You feel completed. You feel whole. In its experience of being taken over, captured, and possessed, wherein your ego's boundaries are invaded and dissolved, and you're taken over by a larger love. Romance. We've seen lots of movies and read lots of novels. And most of us dream of such love. The larger culture just, I hesitate to use the word, but it sort of reeks of romance sometimes. There's an entire literary genre of romance novels. We are bombarded with the marketing of countless products that might help us find such deliciously dangerous and potentially tragic love. Johnson contends, and I agree, that such love too often lacks fullness and substance and sustainability. Romantic love is, from Johnson's Jungian perspective, primarily projection. Projection is the psychological state wherein the thoughts, motivations, and desires that cannot be accepted or integrated as one's own are dealt with by being placed in the outside world and attributed to someone else. Johnson says through projection, we always see the incomplete parts of ourselves in another, and we create the false notion that if we can possess or be with them, we can be whole. He explores the whole concept of romantic love as a projection of the metaphorical context of story. For him, he utilizes the story of Tristan and Iseult. It's the story of a young knight in shining armor who seeks to become whole through the connection of romance to a fair princess. It's much more complicated than that, but I think you get the basic story outline. It has much in common with the tale of Lancelot and Guinevere, and it's likely the tale Shakespeare had in mind when he wrote Romeo and Juliet. Now, in each of these tales of romantic love, the object of one's projected love, the perfect other, is unattainable because they're someone else's spouse, or because she was a Capulet and he a Montague, or in the New York retelling of that story, West Side Story, Maria is Puerto Rican and Tony is Anglo. These tales, Johnson would assure, are metaphorical representations of the desire all too common in our culture for individuals to seek completeness and wholeness within the realm of the internal, not within the realm of the internal, in one's own psyche, but out there. We hold on to the belief that wholeness can be found when we can find the right other person who will complete us. Well, as we know, that all too seldom works out. While romantic attraction and seeking complementary attributes in someone else is drawn to can result in the beginnings of something that grows into another kind of love, romance alone often ends up in disappointment and pain. When the problem is internal, embedded in one's own sense of incompleteness, we will never find its solution out there. It's a deep psychological version of looking for wholeness, looking for love in all the wrong places. This can be true in personal relationships and in politics. The Greeks, in their more complete vocabulary of love, shows us that there are lots of right places to look for love. The key place to begin looking for such love is within, practicing what the Greeks called philatouia, self-love. Roman Kranzak advises that the message from the Greeks is to nurture the varieties of love and to tap into its many sources. Don't just seek eros or romance, but cultivate philia by spending more time with old friends, these days often virtually. Or perhaps develop playful ludus by dancing the night away. Moreover, we should abandon our obsession with perfection. Don't expect your partner or your friends to offer you all varieties of love all of the time. Recognize that a relationship may begin with plenty of eros and ludus, then evolve towards embodying more pragma or agape. The diverse Greek system of loves can also provide consolation by mapping out the extent to which all loves are present in our lives. We might discover we've got a lot more love than we had previously imagined. Remember, too, that we are held by a greater love. We call it many names, too. Divine love, Gaia's love, love from the god or goddess, the love from the spirit of life, or the love we gain by being part of a beloved community. Some say love is a human construct. We just built it to make ourselves feel better. I would suggest it's an ongoing human construction something we build that is still and always will be an ongoing construction project. Inspired by our knowing the power of love, we can weave together many forms of love to create something amazing. The seeds, the fabric, the raw materials of such love have existed since before the beginning of time, and that love will always, always endure.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Our closing words of benediction are for the Reverend Fred Gillis. May the love that overcomes all differences,
that heals all wounds,
that puts to flight all fears,
that reconciles all who are separated,
be in us and among us, now and always. Amen. Salam, shalom, and blessed be.